Yo, what's up guys? You got Kotab here, and I am doing narration, obviously, on the crew while doing some more PvP. Uh, I am not doing the summit. The summit, here's how I feel about the summit. Let me get this out of the way right now. Here's how I feel about the summit, alright? The summit's really cool. I like how they kind of brought in all the events, all the people who are the quote-unquote pro players, they have their niche. There's people who are really good at time trials and really good at getting those high levels on the skills and whatnot. But then there's people who don't really like that stuff, but would rather, do actual races and do PvP and prove that they're a better driver rather than prove that they're a better point getter. It's kind of like how in school you have your people who, they can sit there and they can do their tests, they'll do really well on their tests, their extended response, multiple choice, and, they do their tests very quickly. And then you have the people who, instead of taking a test, if they did take a test, they would do very poorly, but they'll say, hey, I can show you that I can do this. Don't give me a test on how to build a shelf. Let me build you a shelf and I can do it well. It's kind of like that, you have your people who are the test takers who get really good on the points, on the skills, and the time trials, or not even the time trials is kind of in between, but who do really well on the skills, the stunts, the free drive challenges, they're good at getting points, but then there's people who are good at proving that they're a better driver, which are the people that say, I can't get good points, but let me show you that I can do well in a car. So it's kind of like that, and that's kind of how I feel about the summit. I don't really like how they, you have to do the other events in order to qualify, but it's okay, I guess. I didn't even talk about this race very much. I mean, I did okay on this race. That last corner there at the end, my car wouldn't turn right. I don't know why, that's why I lost, but anyway, I think I did alright, except for that falling off the bridge in the beginning. That's really what set me behind, but anyway, yeah, but besides that, the summit's like, it's cool that they have all this stuff going on, but I feel like, for someone who only really likes PvP like me, it's kind of, it's like whatever, I'll just do PvP, I'll get platinum in the PvP, and that'll offset all the rest of the stuffs and end up getting, an average of gold, and I'll be fine. Which, I mean, I guess that's fine. You don't have to do all the other events in order to place well. You get in platinum or gold in the PvP, and, you're alright, you're set. But the thing with the PvP is, and here's where I kind of have an issue with it, is it's based off of how much money you win. Now, that's kind of like rewarding someone for just staying logged in longer. Oh hey, you logged in, you leave your PlayStation on for 20 hours. This guy, even though he's better at, the game, he's better at driving, he's only on for 5 hours. But, and so, the other guy who's bad but stays on longer gets more, or gets to go in. That's basically kind of what it's like. It's, I don't have to win PvP in order to get top 5 on the leaderboards, and that really, I don't really like that. I think it should be, kind of like how it used to be in PvP, where there was the ranking. They should have it like that, where you have to rank up every summit qualifier. You have to, it resets the ladder, and you have to rank up based on doing well in PvP, not just collecting the money at the end. But, I mean, besides that, the summit's really cool. I don't like how they limit all the PvP events. I'd rather get to, choose what car I'm in, choose my event, choose, basically all I have a choice in is what events they have and if I turn traffic and collisions on, which I don't really like that. I would like to have a little more freedom, or at least have a little more of a selection. They only have like, I think it's like 7 different things, which it really isn't that much, and doing it over and over again just gets really boring. But I don't know if cutting through there is really optimal, but I see all the pros do it, so I do it. I mean, I'm not quite sure if it's better than going the other way, but anyway, let me talk about the Golf here. I want to talk about the Golf. The Golf. I like the Golf. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. The Golf is a really good car. how I describe it is it's the best car that nobody uses well, if that makes sense. When I would do PvP before, I would see people use the Golf and they would always do badly. So I automatically assumed, okay, no one's doing well with the Golf, it's got to be a bad car. But no, it just turns out that for whatever reason, the Golf attracts bad drivers, and I don't know why. Because the Golf is a very good car. It's probably top 10. I wouldn't say top 5. I think top 5 is the Skyline, in this order. The Skyline, the Hummer, the Raptor, the Z4, and the Focus. Actually, probably the Focus before the Z4, but in that order, I'd say that's the top 5 cars. And then, you know, you have like both the Mustangs, you have the 370Z, and you have the Golf, which are on like that tier below it. And I think the Golf is very good. I don't know why people never use it, and when they do, I don't know why they do badly. Maybe it's because of its weird handling, and this is going to be kind of difficult to explain. The Golf is a all-wheel drive car. It is programmed in the game as an all-wheel drive car. You can do the wall test. It is all-wheel drive. But it handles like a front-wheel drive, if that makes sense. If you use it and you try to like drift around a corner, your rear end will snap out and then it'll snap back into center, almost like the front wheels were pulling it towards where it's going. And that's the sign of a front-wheel drive car. The front wheels are pulling the rear back to where it's going. As you kind of see in this corner here, I kind of drifted around a little bit, but then the rear end snaps back and the car keeps going forward. That's the sign of a front-wheel drive car. I don't know why. It's very strange. I don't know why it's like that. It doesn't make much sense. It's front-wheel drive, but it's all-wheel drive, but handles like a front-wheel drive. My guess is maybe when they were programming the car, they said, you know what, let's make all of its wheels spin, you know, all-wheel drive car. But they forgot to take out the front-wheel drive physics from the full stock version. I think maybe this might have been one of the first cars that they programmed into the game, so it was just kind of an oversight flaw. But I end up, you know, making a little comeback there on that last straight and getting second place. Not bad. But yeah, that's all I can really think of. But the Golf is really good, and I don't know why, you know, good racers don't use it. I guess probably because they're a little overconsumed by the Skyline, you know. Everyone and their grandma uses the Skyline, and then you get the people who are like, oh, I don't need the Skyline to win, and then they pick the Z4, which is still like top tier car. But yeah, and I can guarantee you that's what the people are like. They're like, oh, I don't need the Skyline to win. The Skyline's overpowered, and then they pick like the Z4 or the Raptor, and you know, people who are uneducated go, oh, these guys are really good. They're using, you know, they're not using the Skyline, but in actuality, you know, they're not far off from the Skyline. But yeah, the Z4 is really good. If you haven't used it, definitely give it a shot. It's very good. Even though nobody actually uses it effectively, it's really good. But this next race here, I got an eliminator race, and I actually did pretty well in this race. I'm very actually happy with my performance. I usually don't do too well on this track. I actually did do very well on this track once, and here there's two. See, this is what I'm talking about. There's two Golfs in this lobby, and I'm pretty sure they come in last and second to last. And that just further solidifies exactly what I mean. You know, it's a really good car, but for whatever reason, only bad people use it. I've never actually been beaten by a Golf, which is very strange. It's not an uncommon car, it's just nobody that's good uses it. But anyway, I switched to the Skyline here and decided, you know, I wanted a little bit of an easier time since I never really do well on this track. You know, example A, but I wasn't the only one that crashed, so I didn't feel too bad about it. I feel like this race, though, a lot of my opponents, they weren't bad, but they were unfamiliar with the track. For example, right there. A lot of the guys hit the wall, and I did hit the wall too, but I forgot how to take that corner. I knew how to take it, I just didn't. In this corner here, a lot of people kind of mess up there. They brake a little too much or go onto the sidewalk a little much. But I definitely feel like, you know, the people in this race, they were unfamiliar with the track, and that's why they didn't do so well. But me, I know this course C just like that. He clearly didn't know how to take that corner, whereas I did. The guy in front of me did too. But I did pretty well despite that. I think, you know, a lot of the good players in this lobby figured it out pretty quickly, and ended up giving me a pretty good race. It was close between the top 3 of us. But I mean, there's not really much to say about the Skyline. It's, you know, it's the best street car. It's really good. It's the best dirt car. It's, you know, top tier in perf. It's, you know, it's it's one of those cars that is just, you know, for whatever reason, they the people at Ivory Tower love this car. I don't really know why. I mean, I know why. It's an awesome car. It's very iconic. A lot of people like this car, but I don't know why they decided to make it, you know, it's top 10 in every spec except for like raid. But even then, it's still really good in raid too. So, you know, I don't really know why they made this car as good as what it is, but, you know, whatever. I wish they would reel it back a little bit just to make, you know, just to make Street Spec a little more balanced. But, I mean, besides the Skyline, I'd say Street Spec is pretty well balanced. So, yeah, that's basically all I really have to talk about, honestly. The summit was really exciting for the first day or two, but I don't know, I just kind of got out of it. It's, like I said, it's really annoying. I find myself, I can't really do more than like an hour or two at a time of the summit, just because it gets so boring using the same cars and the same tracks over and over and over and over again. But, I mean, I can't really understand why they'd made it like that, honestly. Maybe to try to make it more fair, but if they wanted to make the game fair, then they would focus more on balancing the cars instead of just making everyone use the same one. Yes, that was kind of a shots fired. They do need to still work on the balancing. They've always been kind of bad at it. I think the update before the LaFerrari, that was when the game was at its most balanced. There was many perf cars that you could use, and you did see a lot of different perf cars used, and you know, you saw like the Saline. The Saline was very good. The Pagani was very good. The I think this is when the F1 was also up there, which was probably a little overpowered, but it wasn't to the point to where it was unbeatable. The Focus, the Skyline, all 3 of the Lamborghinis, not including the Miura, the Hummer, you know, there's just a bunch of different cars, the Mini, the Fiat, all of them were up there and were used a lot, and it was very diverse in perf spec. Street spec hasn't really changed much, but, you know, it's still, you know, just as balanced as it's always been. Skyline is, of course, all the way up there, but besides that, it's very balanced. Dirt spec, it stayed relatively the same. Raid spec is probably the most balanced spec that there is and ever will be. Just because it's like, well, this car is, you know, very good. You know, it's got decent top speed for a raid car. Oh, but this car's got better acceleration, so it's better for the corners. But this car's, you know, got better suspension, so it handles the bumps better. You know, it's just like, it's just very track dependent on what car you want to use, and, you know, depending on what track it is, you have like 3 or 4 different options. But yeah, I went on a little too much about balancing and, you know, the past and whatnot, but I'm enjoying Wild Run. I like it a lot. You will definitely see some more of the new cars once I get the money to buy them. So, thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment of what you're liking about Wild Run so far, because I'm very interested to know what your guys' favorite parts are. My favorite part is probably the new cars. The new specs aren't really that, you know, huge to me. The bikes are pretty cool, but I'm very excited about the SLR McLaren, about the RX-7, and the Lotus, stuff like that. So leave a comment about what your favorite stuff is, and I will see you guys later.